Hey guys, just finished with Warren Rehn. He's the CEO at Golden Minerals. They have projects down in Mexico and also in the US. We catch up on Rodeo. It's now in production. They've got to optimize that and get that performing the way that they want. 2.5-year life of mine, not too long, but they're looking to extend that. And then that money goes towards the next project, Velardeña, which is much bigger, maybe, hopefully, 20 million contribution over a 10-year period. We shall see. Lots of other exploration stories to talk about too. So if you want our thoughts and opinions on the conversations, topics discussed, the company itself, and of course Warren, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club, where you can also find detailed company reports and analysis. We've got commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of companies and commodities. We've got training courses. We've got summaries of all the interviews that we've done to save you some time because we know you are busy. But most excitingly of all, there's a wonderful, thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other in a nice, friendly, safe environment, free from all that judgment, trolling and abuse you may see elsewhere. And if that sounds appealing to you, and I hope it does, go and join them. cruxinvestor.com/club. There's a bit of a waiting list at the moment because we've been slightly inundated, but we will get there and it's definitely worth the wait. We'd love your feedback too. So give us a like, leave your thoughts below. And if you want to see precisely what we talked about today, take a look in the description below. Warren, how are you, sir?
I'm well, Matthew. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. I've still got a smile on my face because actually what people don't realize before this, Warren and I were talking about llamas.
And alpacas.
And alpacas. I think it was the alpacas we quite like, isn't it?
Yeah, they're the cuter of the two.
Big, tall, fluffy sheep. Right. Okay. We better talk about mining. Okay. That's what we came here for. We saw you back mid-February. It's been 3 months. Want to know what you've been getting up to because you were about to press the button and start producing. So how did the first quarter go?
Yeah, we're very pleased with the first quarter at Rodeo, Matthew. It turned out just about right on our expectation. We produced, the ounces of gold that we had planned. We broke even on the project level, which was the plan, paying for the upgrades to the mill and the startup costs. And we're set to, going into quarter two, to increase production, which we have done in April. We're already now above our target production on a daily rate. We had targeted 450 tons per day after we had the new mill installed, and we're milling about 500 or a little bit more than 500 tons per day, which will mean that we'll exceed target here shortly. And we're looking in Q2 to be making money. As a company, we'll break even, but the project pays for all the other company costs in Q2.
Right. Let's remind people because you got to set this up because it's a kind of it's like a series of chess moves that you've gone with. Okay, so we've got Rodeo is the project we're talking about now. The mill's up and running, is producing, but it's got a short life of mine, but it throws off enough cash to contribute towards getting Velardeña, which is a much bigger project. It's got a PEA on it. We'll talk about it in a second into production. So. And there are multiple other assets which we'll talk about, and exploration which we'll talk about. But so let's get on to let's deal with Rodeo. This short life of mine. Are you seeing anything at the moment, or are you going to be doing anything at the moment which is going to extend that life of mine and therefore the cash flow?
Yeah, no, great question. We're doing the exploration drilling near pit in the obvious altered area to see what the extent of this high grade material is. Mostly to the north of the current pit. We've had some success. We'll continue drilling. We haven't released any results yet. We'll probably get that out here within the next month or so. The drilling's a little bit slow. It's hard rock and consumes bits pretty quickly. But we know that. We knew that going into the process. So I'm very optimistic that we can extend the life. And the question is how long, how much more life of mine can we put on this resource? Right now we're looking at about a 2.5-year life with the current resource, and I'd ideally like to double that. We'll see if we can do it. So the drill's turning. Looks very positive to me. Very optimistic about the results. And obviously, when you have a mine that throws off money like this one does, the high grade open pit style, it's ideal for the company to extend it to the extent possible.
Right. Okay. So you're looking at, from memory, I think it's like 12 to 14,000 ounces a year. Is that the number we're aiming for?
Yeah, that's the number. That's our guidance for this year is between 12,000 and 14,000 gold ounces. And that's about what we'll do for the second year and half of the third at present. And so the goal is to extend that, obviously.
Right. And I guess if you're talking about extensions, from 2.5 years to maybe 5 years, I appreciate it's a maybe until you work out how you do that. Would your expectation or realistic expectation be that the margin will reduce, the cost of getting that gold will increase over the second or the extension period?
At present, we haven't moved the either the cutoff grade or the cost profile looks like it will continue to be about the same. The waste to ore ratio doesn't markedly increase because we're looking at just that near surface portion. So I think we'll stay under 2-to-1 waste to ore, which is a very favorable ratio, and we'll keep that grade at 3 grams plus gold to the mill. So I don't expect the cost profile to increase much at all. So I would expect that any increase that we have, unless it gets a lot deeper, would be very similar to what we're proposing here for what we're doing now and what we'll continue to do for the first 2.5.
Okay, the reason I ask is because obviously Rodeo is the kind of gateway here, because with the cash it throws off, it's not a business in itself. You're not talking to the market and saying, trust us, we've got Rodeo. It's the gateway to the cash to unleash the potential at Velardeña. So we better just remind people of what Velardeña is, which obviously both these assets are in Mexico. So Velardeña's got a PEA. Do you want to remind us of some of the headline numbers there before I talk about it?
Yeah. So we put out a PEA last year, and the change is an update on the previous PEA, and it was based on putting into place a bio-oxidation facility to increase the gold recovery. That all looks very good. We're continuing with it, but the resource that this is based on is about 1.3 million tons measured and indicated. And this is narrow vein mining at a grade of about 5 grams per ton gold and about 300 grams per ton silver, with about 1% each of lead and zinc. So that combination of resources is very attractive in an underground narrow vein setting, given today's metals prices. So the PEA showed, at a very low assumed price for gold and silver of, I think it was $1,300 per ounce of gold and $16 per ounce of silver. And obviously we're much higher than that now, but it showed 100 million-ish, 90 million NPV on the project over a 10-year life. And now basically, given today's prices, that's doubled, if you will. So if you work it out, use the sensitivities, now you have a $200 million project over the 10-year life. So basically it throws off about 20 million a year, more or less, in net proceeds. So that's a very attractive long-term project for the company, as opposed to, as you mentioned, Rodeo is fairly short mine life at present. Now, if we extend it, it could be, another sort of masthead type project for the company. But right now it's as you mentioned, Matthew, it's the money to get Velardeña into production and to get our other exploration projects continued to move forward.
Right. So again, I've used the analogy of chess moves here. So Rodeo to Velardeña throwing off potentially at today's prices, circa 200 million bucks, 20 million a year. Now I'm interested in, what do you do with it? Where do I as a shareholder benefit, right? Where's the growth coming from, and how to use that capital? I get that you're not going to be saying to the market, hey, I need to raise some money, I'm going to dilute you. You're not going to do that. But I need to see some growth story to this too. So where's that come from?
Yeah, exactly. So without growth, obviously it's of limited interest. Interesting, but not super interesting. And so we're focused on exploration in Mexico, at the Biooxidation district that we've released results on earlier this year, for example, and also in northern Argentina, where we have a partnership with Barrick, who's looking for a monster gold deposit. So that's a great way to expand our reach and increase the odds of success. We also have some exploration projects of our own that we're moving forward in Argentina, high sulfidation gold projects in a copper porphyry district, also in Salta. But the near-term prize is Yokivo. It's a district scale, high-grade gold silver vein system where we had some excellent results, up to an ounce per ton of gold and almost 2 kilos per ton of silver in one of the early holes in a new vein that just hasn't been explored. So I'm very excited about that. That's going to be very interesting. We'll get that going here in June, I believe, another phase of drilling. And we're keeping, we're still moving forward on other projects that we have in the pipeline. In Nevada, for example, we've got a position in the low sulfidation gold belt in northwestern Nevada. And we'll continue to move that forward. It's a longer term type project, but all of these projects I'm talking about now have the sort of overall scale that are company makers. So what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up for success and making good on the properties that we already have in the portfolio, keeping an eye open for more, obviously. But that's the series of moves that we're talking about.
Okay, right. So with Rodeo funding the Velardeña getting into production, I mean, well, actually, give us an update on the bio-oxidation test process that you're going through, because you need to be able to produce gold to be able to spend money on exploration to find these company makers. So how's that going?
Yeah, so Velardeña is about half the value is in silver and about half is in gold at that project. They're about equally weighted. We've had trouble with the gold recovery and payable. We get some of the gold value the way we've done it before, but only about 25%, 25 to 30%. To get 90% of the gold value, which is about what you ever get, we need this bio-oxidation process, which artificially oxidizes the concentrate that we produce and then allows us to cyanide leach that with very good recoveries. So we're doing this is the third series of tests. We have 2 very successful tests on the Biox already. So I'm very confident that it works well as planned. And this third series of tests is what's required to get the engineering design for the capacities of the tanks that we're going to use to build the bio-oxidation facility itself. And that's, we're doing those studies in South Africa. We expect to be able to have the design criteria, worked out completely by Q4 with a series of construction blueprints, basically, for early next year. So that's the process we're going through. We're also doing some optimization of the flotation separation to make sure we get the gold in the right place for this all to work perfectly. Now, we know how to do it the way we're doing it before, and it does throw off pretty decent money at today's metals prices. But now we're looking at the best way to do it, and that's using this bio-oxidation technology.
So what's the optimization you're looking for? I mean, I know you're telling me it works, but is it working to 80% and you're looking to get it to 90%? Or, I mean, how far away are you from what you want?
So the test work that we did with the Biox to date showed 90% recoveries of gold from the oxidized arsenopyrite concentrate. Now, the optimization I'm talking about is how to separate the gold and silver into the 3 concentrates that we're producing. So you get most of the gold into the arsenopyrite concentrate, because that's the best payable once you have the bio-oxidation circuit working. The silver reports with the lead. The zinc, you just get out of the way and you make a bit of operating cash flow from that. Just, it reduces your cost overall. But the real prize is, the silver in the lead concentrate and the gold in the arsenopyrite concentrate. So how well you do that is your optimization process.
Right. Okay. And how you for cash at the moment?
No, we're good. We reported $8 million in the bank at the end of Q1, and we will be even as a company. So we expect that balance more or less to be the same at the end of Q2, and from there we build cash as a company. And then, so depending on when we start spending some of the development money on Velardeña, that cash burn is later in the year. So we're projecting building cash through 2021, and then we'll spend some of that on the Velardeña development story.
Right. So you need to have a level of certainty before you do that. So you clearly at a point where you think we can do some things, but not all the things. So what's the kind of big moment that you're looking for from these tests in South Africa to be able to go, now we can spend the money, the real money?
Yes, we're looking for a detail on the capital costs for the bio-oxidation plant. That's the big item from that. We had estimated at $6 million. Costs are going up. Now we need a real number at the size we need to have, which is about 50 tons per day in the bio-oxidation facility. So I expect that number to increase somewhat, but it'll be still less than 10 million. So between 6 and 10, but I need the exact number, obviously, to be able to plan. The other thing we're looking at beyond that is, are we able to control the dilution in the underground mining process to the extent that we're predicting? So we're doing a series of mining tests this summer and into the fall that will show that. So as a part of the decision process to move forward with Velardeña, there's two things. The bio-oxidation facility, get that detailed, know the cost, know what the timing is to build it. Three things, actually. The flotation optimization I was talking about. And then do we control the mining dilution using the Rehn mining technique that we're planning to use? And do we get those diluted grades that we're expecting? Because that was the other major headwind that we had and you always have this in the narrow underground vein deposit. You need to be able to control your dilution at the mining place, and that's key. So we'll show that, prove that, and once we've gotten that proof, internally accepted, board of directors level and management, then we'll make the decision to turn it on.
Right. So you've got a bit of cash. You're going to be positive cash flowing probably Q2 and be building up cash position for the rest of the year. The PEA, you're doing some feasibility level study work at the moment. It's a really low capex in terms of the mine startup and so forth. So does that mean that you can make these decisions off the back of the feasibility study in terms of funding and getting into production, or do you need to work your way through the, some kind of definitive feasibility study too?
No, we don't. We won't have to do a more definitive feasibility study. Bear in mind, we have the development of the mine already in place. We own the mining equipment. We've got the plants already built. So we're really only talking about a relatively small capital investment compared to the money it throws off. So we'll do this based on the pre-fees to fees internal work that we're doing. And, we really should have enough money to fund this ourselves based on the Rodeo cash flow.
Right.
That's the plan right now going forward.
Okay. So, and so production when? Everything goes to plan, production when?
Late Q4. And could be sooner potentially, but I'm saying, November, something like that is probably when we'd start production based on the silver, lead, and zinc. It takes a year to build the BIOX circuit, so we would stockpile the arsenopyrite concentrate and then process that starting in probably.
So let me be clear. So you would start the mine up at the end of this year. You've got to build the BIOX plant. Yes. So when would you be throwing off actual gold, therefore cash?
Well, the cash comes out even based on the silver, lead, zinc production.
Okay.
In our analysis. And that starts this year, right? So, So we're making cash, and it's about half of the cash flow stream. Let's say. On current plan, we stockpile the arsenopyrite, and then we're able to process that faster because we have a big stockpile of it. Once the BIOX facility is built in 2022, so that would start up in, let's say, late 2022, or certainly by 2023. With the full scale cash flow from the project. So it's stepwise. So round numbers, it could throw off 10 million a year in the silver, lead, zinc concentrate sales, with an additional 10 million a year once the gold starts to come out of the project. at certain price.
Okay, so that gives a sense of the cash flow. In the meanwhile, Rodeo is doing its thing too.
And bear in mind, Rodeo makes 10 to 12 million a year on its own. Right?
Okay, so 2023 could be interesting. Okay, cool. With regards to just I get the exploration we talked about El Cuevar and your Kivo there, but you've got a few other projects. Are you tempted to monetize those in some way, or will you be allocating exploration to that?
I really like to do the first stage of drilling on these projects to get the value that is potentially there, more described. Right. So if you have a couple of good holes or start the resource, obviously you have a much better chance of getting a monetization that you want. Or at that point, you can make a decision whether it's a scale that we can move forward ourselves or bring in a partner and get a much better deal. So we'll do the initial phase of drilling, at least on these projects, see what it looks like, and then move forward from that point of view. And I have no intent to monetize any of these other projects before we get to that next stage.
Okay. Warren, I appreciate the update. Stay in touch. Obviously, I want to see what happens in Q2 with regards to Rodeo. Really interesting, but it sounds like you've also got a lot going on with Velardeña too. So, I will follow you closely, as they say. I'll follow you with interest. I think that's what they say, isn't it? Thanks for your time today.
No, it's great, and good luck on that alpaca buying expedition that you're going on.
2.
And meanwhile,
there's
2. Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. Folks, anyone listening to this, you need to buy 2 alpacas. They get lonely.
Yeah, they do. Have to have 2. But meanwhile, we'll be producing gold, and let's keep in touch, and we'll get an update here after Q2.